Yes. No. Well, nothing at the moment.
Well,
Loading video. Hold on.
yep.
Brew time.
All right, here we go. Thank you for tuning in to a very special episode of the Overseas Connection, part do, redo, because last time I tried doing this, the audio settings were not set up properly. My bad. Anyway, hey, we are recapping the Bethesda conference this week, and we're recapping the Microsoft E3 press conferences this week. So we'll also be doing Sony and EA as well as Ubisoft, possibly Nintendo, tomorrow. But for now, let me introduce everybody sitting in on the panel right now. We have gamer girl Kim Woods on the show today.
Howdy, everybody.
Howdy, Kim. Also on the podcast today, Robin Tate.
Hey guys. Hello there. I'm stoked and happy to be here again.
Yes, again. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Richard Webster.
I'm here, Richard Webster. I'm wearing my army shorts.
Woo-woo!
That's good. You're
Because
ready
I'm
for
ready
combat.
for business.
Ready
Ready
for
for fucking combat.
All right. Well, like we said, we're recapping everything. Right now, we're showing in one of our windows the Doom, the Doom announcement from the Bethesda conference. But most importantly, let's just talk through the conference. We're not going to follow along, minute by minute with the conference on screen. But Rich, why don't you walk us through a recap? I'm guessing, all said and done, we're probably going to be a good half hour or so for each conference, maybe a little bit longer, but that's the goal.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit longer for Microsoft. They had a little bit more to show. But getting back to the Bethesda conference, last night, that was their very first conference for E3 they've ever done. And just before we go any further with that, I'd like to give them a sort of a congratulation because it kind of went through almost hiccup-free.
Right.
Considering it was their first time.
Yeah.
Pete Hines, he was the guy who hosted the show. Does anybody know who Pete Hines is?
I believe isn't he the head of?
He's VP of PR and marketing,
Right.
but that's not just like a PR title. He actually has a core decision-making role within the company. He's quite an important guy. He's a
Right.
very nice guy as well. And he likes soccer. He tweets about soccer. I'm saying soccer for you, Greg.
I
Footy
appreciate
for us.
that. I appreciate
So
that.
they kicked off the conference straight away. They showed us Doom. Now, before now, we've had about a 6-second, air quotes, gameplay trailer. So they kicked off with Doom. We know that it's running on id Tech 6 engine, or as they like to call in-house, 666. Ha ha. Coming spring next year, 2016. Marty Stratton, I think he was the lead producer or something. He showed off the game. So let's talk about it. First of all, I suppose the first thing you could say is the graphics, because that's the first thing you see when it turns on. Shows the guy, puts his helmet on the screen. Everyone was going nuts. Graphically, what did it sort of look like to you guys? For me, it's like the lighting and the textures and everything was quite impressive.
Yeah, I was visually impressed by Doom for sure. I'm not the biggest Doom fan, so I don't get super excited for these games. I want to be excited for them, but ultimately, there's other fish to fry, if you will, from the Bethesda conference that I was interested in. But ultimately, it looks fantastic. It looks next gen, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know if this will be a day one for me, but I think for a lot of Doom fans, it certainly looks awesome.
Yeah. What about you, Robin? Yeah. What did you think of how it looked?
You know what? I love Doom. There was some wee bits in there. Some of the monsters looked quite good in it. Like rescaled up from the old days. But I was watching this and I kind of trying to keep an eye where the guy was going to, and it kind of all looked the same. Every corridor. I know it's a corridor shooter, and that's what Doom is, but it still seems a bit dated. I'm sure it'll be great fun in multiplayer, but chainsaws and big guns and I don't know. It looks good. It'll probably be polished, but again, it wouldn't be a day one sort of thing for me. I'll not be rushing out for that.
I'll come back to the weapons in a minute. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a minute. What about you, Kim? Graphically, visually, how did it look for you?
Yeah, I'm kind of like Greg. I agree it looked nice and everything, but I'm also not much of a Doom fan. My brothers played it back on the Super Nintendo way back when, and I didn't care much for it then. So, yeah, I'm sure there are people out there that are going to love it and think it's awesome, but for me, I'm just like, I might try it, but I can't see it being something I'm going to rush out and buy day one. So
Yeah, see, I kind of feel the same with Robin in it, and I think me and Greg spoke about this before. Like, there's only like a couple of minutes of gameplay, but it kind of got samey towards the end because it was sort of the same environments, the same sort of shit going on.
Yeah.
I mean, in their favor, they probably did only show us like that one level and then the hell level, so it could change up. Who knows? What about gameplay wise as a shooter? I mean, it looked pretty solid.
And it probably will be fantastic that way, but I think we demand more from games now. You know, if it's just multiplayer only, if there's a good sort of horror, creepy story with it going along, yeah, it might be okay to go through. But I think it's just an old style of genre now. That magic may have gone. You know?
Do you know what? And that's exactly what I thought when Greg said to me it looked samey towards the end. I thought to myself, do you know what? This day and age, and with our experience, we're kind of spoiled with our games. They do give us more. We're not about like, just running around the same corridors and seeing blood and getting excited. That's not really what games are about for us these days.
Right.
So I'm with you. You know, I'm hoping that maybe there's a good story there. I mean, multiplayer looked interesting, and the creation stuff looked quite good. The modding stuff.
Yeah, the modding stuff looked really cool. I think they called it was it snap mode. It was
Snap
basically
map.
yeah, it's basically snap map. It's basically kind of Forge, if you will, for Doom, and
Yeah,
I was
Forge on
totally
steroids.
very okay with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I like that. I would love to try and recreate some of the old original DM1, DM2, and DM3 from the original Quake. I would like to try and do that with that. That would be appealing to me to have a fiddle with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's enough to hold my attention for that long. You know.
Yeah, one of the other exciting things I think that may have been a little bit overlooked. This was really kind of the first game out of the chute that was talking about mods to all platforms. So they're bringing all the mods for Doom are going to come to all platforms, which is, is kind of the first one out of the chute, if you will, within the Bethesda and Microsoft conferences to talk about this. I think it's a good direction. I like seeing the next-gen consoles being able to play in the same pool with the PC gamers. Fidelity aside, it's nice to see that content is starting to really kind of propagate across all platforms.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk fidelity, but the games like Fallout, which we'll talk about later, and like this, I mean, they were probably running on consoles, to be honest. I mean, maybe not Doom, but either way, it'll still look great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lines are starting to blur between the good consoles now and the PCs at the moment. Maybe in a few years, the PC will start to stretch ahead again, but just at the moment, the lines are very very blurred.
Oh, definitely, I agree. And there's only a couple of games really, mate, that stand out as like this looks better on PC. You know, from just a layman's perspective, there are only really a handful of games these days that can really push it.
So I was just watching a bit in the video right now where he has to pass a gate with his handprint.
Yeah.
Right.
And in a little while here, it gets very brutal, and he rips the hand off one of the workers from the place, and rips her hand off, and then puts it on. So that just sets the tone for this game. Just unbelievably brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the things I was going to mention with Doom, with this remake. It seems like they have added in a lot of almost like contextual, if you will, close combat maneuvers that you can do. You call them executions, if you will, but it's something I noticed, and it was, before it was kind of always you just did the gun butt was your close quarter, melee combat move, and now it's your twisting heads, your ripping arms off, all different kinds of things that you can do, and it seemed like there was a highlight notification as you were attacking monsters. You'll notice they kind of highlight like a light blue, almost white color, and I think that signifies you can do one of those moves on them if you're close enough.
Yeah, I think they're going to be calling them executions. Probably they're very similar to the Batman ones, aren't they? In the Arkham games.
Yep.
All very useful skills to have in a daily basis. Being able to rip the heads off people and twist their arms off. Very handy.
I mean, do you not think it was a little bit? I mean, me and my brother watched this this morning. I watched it like this morning, then he come around and I watched it again. When the guy he basically beats down the demon and then takes the demon's leg and bashes his own head in with his own leg. And Danny was saying it's a bit unnecessary.
But that's Doom, right? That is kind of the Doom is over the top. It's insane, kind of crazy, and I think they've returned to form with that. I got well, let's see, was it Doom 3 when it was on the original Xbox, and they kind of went back to that kind of They were trying to do the creepy, scary storyline and making it much more of a corridor shooter and monster closet situation. This felt very Serious Sam, just like tons of stuff coming at you, and you're just going through, and you're just a killing machine.
Yeah.
And I think that's
basically.
kind of what Doom needs to be.
What about you, Kim? Have you got any final thoughts on Doom before we move off?
How the hell did they get demons on Mars? That was my question. The entire time sitting here watching this, they're like demons on Mars. And I'm like, how the hell do you get demons on Mars?
2 reasons. Because boobs
They've
and
always
'cause
been
video
there.
games.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what? To be honest, I don't even know what the backstory of Doom is, other than these monsters come through like a portal and like take
Yeah,
over.
I believe the backstory, at least the backstory they created for it, is there's scientific experiments going on Mars that unlock a gateway to hell, and basically demons pour through.
So
There you
basically,
go.
it's
That's
like
the Mars.
that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the problem with Mars. See, we've already started the process, by the way. The rover
Yeah,
has gone to
exactly,
Mars.
right?
It's gonna move a rock, and suddenly it's gonna be a door, and it's all over.
He's a funny demon there. That funny guy. Skeleton head with the 2 torches or guns above his head. Just at the
I
very
thought-
end of that.
I thought with
Revenant,
that
I
video,
think they call them.
yeah, like with that video where he kills him, like beats him to death with his own arms. I thought, oh, this guy's gonna be like, the big sister from BioShock 2 or something. He's gonna be like the guy. But then when he goes to hell, kills like 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's like you build up this monster and then like but then the monster at the end of Doom, the big guy, the Colossus thing, and he gets out the BFG and then woo, Doom, yeah.
Yeah.
End of trailer.
And everything's back, like you said. BFG's back. The chainsaw's there. I mean, they really brought it all back to the game, and it feels like a proper Doom reboot.
It does. I mean, those chainsaws, that's sick. That is like pure sick, and I mean that in both ways that way it can be taken.
And I couldn't quite figure out, by the way, with the chainsaw, but it at first looked like you might be able to direct the direction you slash with the chainsaw. So I wasn't totally positive on that, but it looked like there were different cutting motions that were being made with each enemy. So it potentially you could yourself kind of direct how the chainsaw cuts into the demons.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. We've all wanted, to anatomize our chainsaw executions. So, thankfully, Doom has finally brought that to us.
Yes, finally here.
Anything else before we move on from Doom?
No, I think we can move forward.
All right, the next thing Bethesda announced was Bethesda.net. We're not going to touch on this that much, but it's basically a new website for them, a new platform for digital content. It's going to be
Think Origin.
Yeah, but it's going to have the forums, it's going to have the blog in there. Everything's going to be integrated because kind of now it's kind of well separated.
Right.
I don't know if I got the impression or if it was implied or what, but it sounded as if like they're going to host mods as well.
Yeah, I think that's how they're getting away with the different mods appearing on different platforms as well.
Which is interesting because 1, they've never hosted mods before, and 2, what about Steamworks? What about their partnership with Steam? Where's that going to go? And Steam Workshop? So that's an interesting thing to touch on. Other than that, they said Pete Hines just said it's coming soon. We'll have more details on that.
Right.
So next up was Battle Cry. Has anybody heard anything about this game before today? Was it announced? Was it?
No.
Yeah, I had heard about it before. This is their free to play, like kind of big MMO shooter, if I remember correctly.
They define it as a team-based action combat game, basically class-based combat.
Team
I think
Fortress
Robin wants
2.
to say. Yeah, Team Fortress 2 with swords.
Yeah.
Does Robin want to say something? No,
He always
just
wants to
saying
say
hi me.
something. Yes.
Yeah, he's just saying hi. One thing I thought is if have you ever seen those adverts in America? You might not have. That if Carlsberg did adverts or if Carlsberg did holidays, do you get those types of adverts over there?
We do not. Carlsberg is not as big in the United States as it is over in Europe.
Okay, well, it's like basically like Carlsberg did an advert once where it said if Carlsberg did banks, they'd be the best banks in the world. And this guy walks into a bank and he gets handed a pint of Carlsberg and there's hot babes with his cashier money and stuff. This trailer reminded me of this if Quentin Tarantino did video games. That's what Battle Cry looked like to me. It had the Kill Bill sort of Western music, the slow-mo, and like it had the Gadgeteer and stuff, their name. They kind of built it up as like a big deal, but to be honest, I didn't really see anything that really interested me. What about yous?
No, again, free to play is tough for me to get super excited for. I just Yeah, I don't know. We'll leave it as is, where it stands. It potentially could be a huge deal. It could be a huge game. But for me, I just was, kind of indifferent to it.
Yeah, what about you, Kim? Any thoughts on Battle Cry?
Yeah, apparently I was sitting there last night watching this, and my big thought was, eh. I guess I wasn't impressed. So,
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Like it's one of them niche things. It's not a game that's everyone's gonna like. But I think what's interesting is Bethesda said that they founded this studio to make this game.
yeah.
Right.
Everything. So maybe they saw it at a trade show or something that maybe they've seen it somewhere before and thought, oh, this might be a good game to host, because Bethesda's doing that thing where they're trying to build a family now, aren't they? Family of studios. I suppose next up is Dishonored 2. Now it might be sacrilegious of me, but I never played the first game. Just never got interested
Me
in it
neither.
at all.
Yeah, but
This
I
was
played it.
this was really just a CGI trailer. We didn't really see any gameplay as such. So, what about Dishonored 2? Like, Kim, how come you've not played the first one but you own it? Is that like Steam?
No, I have it for the 360. It's just one of those things. I have a pile of shame, and I haven't made it there yet, I guess. Maybe I'm just not overly excited about it, but I kind of want to play it. It's one of those things.
Do you kind of want to play Dishonored 2?
Actually, yeah, believe it or not, that was one of the things last night I took away from it that, I was actually kind of interested in it. Now, I don't know if that's because, one, you can play as a chick,
Yeah.
or, exactly why, but it did kind of interest me a little bit. So,
Well,
I guess now I'm going to play Dishonored.
Possibly a spoiler for the first game, but probably not a spoiler. That chick was a kid or a baby or something in the first game, is what I'm told.
Okay.
That's
All
what
right.
I heard, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why you can play as it. I mean, Arcane Studios, they've done all right. They said something about millions of people liking Dishonored, so it must have sold pretty well. You play as a female character. It's like parkour type stuff, supernatural abilities or whatever. This confused me. The guy said you play as an assassin. Listen to this. Accused of murder.
Well,
I mean, you pretty much can't deny it.
Right.
What's your name? Sarah. What'd you do? I'm an assassin, really. By day and night. So yeah, it looked interesting. It kind of reminded me a little bit of BioShock Infinite at the start, with the architecture style and the streets. It was very much reminiscent of was it Columbus? Colombo? I don't know, Columbus.
Columbia.
Columbia.
That's
Yeah.
it. What about you, Greg? Any interest in Dishonored 2?
Not a ton. Again, it's funny because I bought the first Dishonored. I had a very hard time getting into it. They showed this off. It looks nice. It's got it's the same steampunk vibe, although it looks like it's a little more evolved into a little bit more of a future. And the other thing that came away from this, for those that care, there's a Dishonored Definitive Edition being released out, which is a remastered version of the first Dishonored coming to the Xbox One and PS4 this holiday. So we get to, more remasters, which I think is part of next gen. And next gen remasters, same sentence.
See, we might see less of that now with what's been announced with Microsoft, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm not really that interested in Dishonored 2. Maybe as a Steam sale, I might pick it up because that's what I do. Robin, any thoughts on Dishonored 2? No? Moving on. They announced The Elder Scrolls Legends, which is basically their answer to Hearthstone, pretty much.
Right.
It's going to have story elements and characters from Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. Any thoughts?
Well, one real quick thought to the viewers that might be watching this on Twitch later on. I have the videos up, and I'm trying to skip around. I should have probably time marked these to be a little better at this, but I'm trying to keep the video relevant to what we're watching and what we're talking about. So right now we have Elder Scrolls up on the screen. Elder Scrolls Online. If I didn't have The Witcher 3 and Dragon Age Inquisition already in my playlist, I probably would care more about this.
No, Elder Scrolls Legends, this is.
Oh, Legends. Sorry, my bad. Legends. Yeah, no. Don't care.
Yeah, the online, I've completely skipped over online because it's not really news, to be honest. More stuff's coming. Elder Scrolls Legends, strategy card game. I've written, like Hearthstone, free to play, PC and iPad later this year. I think that's going to be quite big because it's free to play, because Hearthstone's free to play.
Sure, it will do well, no doubt. Although, Oh yeah, I guess it really depends on what the gameplay actually is like. We haven't really seen any actual gameplay, so
No, we just saw like Trine-esque
Right.
concept art type characters. Again, it could be interesting, but it's free. Any interest in this, Kim? Trading card strategy game?
No,
No.
not really. No, it's not really my thing. So
All right, Robin, any thoughts? Nope. Moving on. I think, guys, I think that about wraps it up. So yeah,
Look at you.
that's Bethesda's
Yeah.
Bethesda's conference done. I'm doing that thing that Pete Hines did.
Yes, he did.
Hold on. We did Doom. We did, we did Battle Cry. He's quite a nice guy, honest to God. Fallout 4.
Yes.
oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed.
boy.
Yeah.
God, what I liked is how much they showed. People have been saying for weeks on the forums now, or days, or whatever it's been. Feels like weeks. I just hope that they show like a 20-minute gameplay, 10-minute gameplay. Just want to see gameplay. They kind of showed it in spades. They showed probably too much, to be honest. They gave people as a negative. They gave some people new to the franchise an impression that they don't really know what type of game they want to make. So they kind of make it a bit of everything. However, let's talk about it because I'm fucking stoked. Let's just hit these one at a time, right?
Right.
I'm gonna go straight for. Let's get this. Just get this one out of the way first. Fallout Shelter. They announced this at the show.
Fallout Shelter. So this is it's a free to play game,
Mhm.
and literally free, no cost, out now on iOS.
Yeah, out right the fuck now. FTL XCOM inspired. You play as an overseer.
Right.
It's like a sim game. You decide what your vault dwellers are gonna do. It's like side-on view. Send them out into the wasteland. Protect against raiders, level up and stuff. Kim, did you see this? Any interest? It's
I
free.
did, yes. If it ever comes out for Android, I'll be all over this.
So
But until then,
the good
I
news.
just-
The good news is
Really
Pete
not-
Hines.
Sorry.
Yeah, Pete Hines did confirm that's going to come out to Android later
Yeah.
this year.
good.
Yeah,
So-
you said that, didn't you? You said that on
Yeah.
Twitter, didn't he?
Yep.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, and for those that, when we say it's XCOM like, it's not the combat play, but in XCOM the reboot when it came to consoles and PC, when you managed your base, it was an ant farm look, so a side cut view. You're looking at it as you would like an ant farm, the old glass ant farms that you would get as a kid. Or as an adult that still likes ants. Anyway, so it's that same side view, and it looks like it is proper fun. Mark Wright actually has already been playing it, and he said it's great.
Yeah. If you want to get your Fallout fix on the commute to work, or if at work, if you could put your feet up like Mark, the lazy bastard, this is great.
Yeah.
So Fallout 4. I don't really know what to say, to be honest. They showed a lot. They showed more than I thought they would.
Right.
First of all, let's just get this out of the way. Release date, they announced 10th of November this year.
Yeah. This year, that's exciting. Super exciting to hear that.
I mean, I had a feeling it'd be November. I was hoping maybe October, because that's when the war kicked off. I think it was like October the 23rd. But to be honest, I thought back, they probably, not only did they want a little bit longer for release, but they probably wanted to get out of the way Halo and maybe a couple of other things. But they come out, isn't it the same release date as Tomb Raider? Rise of the Tomb Raider? Is that the same day?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
It might be. I have to think about that.
Yeah, it's around the same time, but I don't think they're not the same really type of game. So I'm basically just talking nonsense. First up, let's leave visuals till the end. Let's look at gameplay. Okay, combat. First of all, it wasn't the first thing shown, but combat. I got the Call of Duty Titanfall impression watching him play. Shooting.
I don't know about Titanfall, but certainly I got a bit of a Call of Duty vibe. But it's so tough because with Fallout, you always had that first-person, view, but they introduced the VAT system, and that's still there. So at any point in time, you can switch over from first-person, third-person, in kind of non-stop action, or you can then use VATs, and the VAT system. Again, for anybody new to the franchise that hasn't heard of it before, that's basically kind of being able to put the game into a pause mode as you're taking a shot at somebody, and it goes into a full-on RPG. Like there's a dice roll, if you will, and there's percentages on how much damage you can do and what the percentage is to hit them using the VAT system.
What they did change was that in this game, it only slows that time down, doesn't stop it, which is what
really?
they did in the other games. Yeah.
I did
so
not
if you notice
pick up
when he
on
goes
that.
into VATS, He goes into the vats with like the mole rats and the army people or whatever, and they just go slow motion. So
Okay.
the game sort of still carries on. I think they did that to sort of make it a penalty because it was kind of overpowered, the vats, in the way you could just pause it, go take the dog for a walk.
Right.
So I think they've just sort of brought that in. I mean, the combat for me, the reason why I think it felt Call of Duty / Titanfall is like the bullets seem to have impact, and it even had that little crosshair pop up when you hit the target. Pop, 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 pop. Didn't make that noise, but so yeah, the combat looked interesting. What about you, Kim?
It looked good to me. Like I said, I've never played Fallout, so I'm kind of going into this going, I know, I'm terrible, it's awful. But, it's like I told somebody today, I liked the robot and I liked the dog. So
That's how you get the women's vote, guys.
Robots and dogs.
I'm only messing.
There you
That's
go.
very sexist. What about you, Robin? Fallout 4, mate?
Yeah,
We're talking about combat at the minute.
As I tweeted earlier on this morning, it is everything you could ever ask for in a nuclear apocalypse. I think it looks great. I think the combat looks fabulous. That little extra clip that we seen tonight did seem a lot more free flowing. I mean, there was no VATS being used there when he was
Right.
Killing people with a real gun. The big mech suit looks fabulous. Just I was very excited about the house building thing where you construct your own buildings and houses and stuff like that there. It looks like the sort of world you can get into and just get lost in it. I spent a lot of hours in Fallout 3 and I expect to spend a lot here. This is more attractive to me, than The Witcher because of it's not elves and wolves and shit. I'm sorry, I'll probably buy it anyway, but this is my cup of tea. This is, 50s, 60s sci-fi and that just appeals to me big style. So bring it on. Bring it on.
Looks great. And just to touch on the crafting, like you said, what they've done with crafting in this game is basically incorporate what we loved about Minecraft and Rust and whatever, and brought it into a Bethesda game.
Yeah, they took it to a whole new level.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks like when you build your house and it's a friendly place and you get a bit of power there, and all of a sudden traders come and set up shops and stuff like that.
Right.
Maybe that expands into the case of it's you're almost starting a village to build. You build this nice place, and more people come and move into it, and there's certain strife with that as well. So cool. And you've touched on the modding thing then as well.
That's the next thing we were going to talk about. The weapon mod.
Okay.
Insane.
Sorry. Okay.
What about?
Sorry. There was one cool weapon that I sort of took a note of. The wind-up laser thing. You like a crank. It was a crank.
Yeah.
You cranked it, and there was a laser shot with this like red goo stuff coming out of it with the laser as well. It's just those sort of weapons are fantastic.
Did he say it was like a laser musket or something?
Yeah.
I think I wrote it down.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy part about this is they said they had 50 base weapons, but then there was over 700 plus weapon mods that you could put to the weapons. So I mean, there's a ton of different come up with and create. And that's just the weapons. That's not talking about the buildings. And I am kind of curious if vehicles come into play on this because certainly, you saw them scrapping a couple different times. He scrapped, I think, vehicle parts from from a broken down vehicle. So
tires and stuff, yeah. And I mean, you fly in a vertibird as well. You can call in a vertibird to ride. That's obviously a vehicle type of transport. So maybe there'll be other things like maybe a car or something.
Right.
Or a bike. That might be quite interesting. And what about the if we just touch on the armor for a second, firstly the power armor, like you said, Robin, that looked insane and then beastie. Yeah. I like the animation of you getting in it, and it's not just in your inventory and you just equip it. It's like a tank. It's a machine that you climb into. It's almost mech-like.
Yeah, it sort of reminded me. Is it Fear 3? The mech in it where you sort of climbed in from behind in it, and it looked like a comfy place to be, and there was like almost like a suit within a suit inside it. Yeah, it looked very cool.
And that looked good.
Badass.
The armor as well, when he said that we've split it out into parts, they used to have that in like Morrowind and stuff. But as time went on and they ran out of resources, they had to strip that down. And that's why in Skyrim you have like boots, gloves, and then armor. Same as Fallout. Whereas now, I think in Fallout, everything was armor. It's like one piece. But now he said they've got pieces. So armor customization could be interesting.
Yeah. Was it only me, or does the robot sound like John Cleese?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, there's a bit of John Cleese in there. But it's not him, I don't think. It's very John Cleese-like.
I was too busy looking at the textures because I'm that guy. But yeah, I like the robot. He is. But let's touch on the voice acting because some people are complaining. They've complained about voice acting in the, like Bethesda games, and certainly the voice protagonist was a key thing in the trailer that was released the other day. Everyone was wondering if it was going to be a voice protagonist. We now know that it is female and male characters. Personally, I think the voice acting is great. I mean, I'm not necessarily the addition. I'll have to get used to it because it's become more Mass Effect-y, but the people they got to voice those two characters sounded perfect to me. I've got no issues with them.
No, I didn't have an issue, and I think that the issue that people were taking with the voice acting is, because it makes it not your character. You know what? It's time to move on. It's time to grow up a little bit and get past dialogue trees with no spoken words. I am so happy they included voiceovers for the main characters, because nothing took me out of the experience more than getting into a conversation with somebody and seeing them answering my questions with their voiceover and then just my dialogue choices being a button click.
What some people don't realize, I think, is that like the reason why we have silent protagonists in games is because there just wasn't the resources years ago to have a voice for all the characters and you for everything. Right. That's the reason we have it. And Bethesda said, I think it was last year or the year before, that their next game, they want to focus on characters. They want to build character and have personality with characters and story, because Todd Howard is a massive fan of Red Dead Redemption and games like that. And I think I appreciate their direction that they're taking with Fallout, because let's be honest, whether those lines get spoken or not, they get said. Who cares what it sounds like? Even if the guy speaks, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and okay. Sorry, I'm watching the video feed right now, and you know what? This game looks fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody that was trying to downplay how this game looks, jump in a lake. Go die a slow death, because this game looks fantastic.
Good. Yeah.
For what it does, mate, what you've got to bear in mind is how much stuff's going on in the background. There's only so much resources on an Xbox or a computer that they can use. So they have to limit to what they can do. The fact that they can make the game look this good, and arguably it is a great looking game, and still have all that stuff going on and all the customization, because that's all in your save. The game has to remember where you put that box and killed that guy, and to have all that and a game that looks that good. I mean, that game looks better than a lot of games we see today. And the stuff it can do is just impressive.
Yeah, it is an achievement if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely. And just to touch on a couple of little things here, we've got dialogue, the options, the way you can only say like 4 things, but I mean, you will have like times where there'll be a button that just says more, like in Mass Effect and stuff. What do you think about that? Because people are complaining that you don't have a list of options to say anymore, and you've only got like a certain amount of things you can say. Do you think they've dumbed it down, or do you think they've just took away the trash? You don't need 10 responses. You don't, because they're mostly generic things anyway in Fallout games. From what I remember, is you only really are good, bad, or neutral. You're not really like I'm half neutral, half bad type of guy. It's just at the end of the day, you're one of those 3 characters, and you sort of fit into that bracket. And I think by streamlining it in this way, and I don't like that word streamlining, I think they've sort of made it concise, and they're able to make it better for what it is.
Yeah, I think they just brought some better focus to it. So,
what about you, Kim? In terms of story, did you say earlier that you've not played a Fallout game?
No, I've never played a Fallout game, but I agree. I think they probably just cut the crap out. Because I mean, how many ways do you have to say one thing? I mean, really. So.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, if someone said to me, Richard, do you want a hot dog? Right, I would either say no, yes, or fuck off. Like, good,
no, yes,
neutral,
or fuck off.
There
good, neutral, or bad. I'm not going to say no, yes, fuck off, mayhaps, probably not. After I've been in the shop, it's just useless. You don't. I just think people are complaining over anything to complain about, and the way I feel, and I'm not a fanboy, there are things I don't like about the game. Like, I thought some of the animations of the facial animations seemed a bit not as good as they could be from what we're seeing from other games and things like that. But for me, the amount of good stuff that's in the game overweight, like I can't even think of a good word because it's just Fallout, overpowers all of that sort of stuff for me. So I'm happy that I've got it pre-ordered. Right. Has anybody got anything else to mention just before we touch on the Pip-Boy? Because I think we'll lead with the best thing, obviously.
Yeah. No, I think we can jump into the Pip-Boy and wrap up.
Okay.
Sorry, just finally. Sorry, I was distracted there.
Go on,
just on the conversation trees, watching it closely. there was that whole thing with with Mass Effect and some of the other games that you only had like one or two words, and then it was like okay then, and you picked okay then, and he went in an absolute rant.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen that there in this as well. It was like like get food, and he turned into this. Yeah, okay, get food, and there's a whole. I know they have to condense it to get onto the menu, but you just never know how many words are going to come out of his mouth, or is it almost potluck that you get the response that you want out of it. So I think that'll be interesting as well.
I'm okay with that though. I'm really okay with that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, don't mind that. No, it's not a complaint.
I'm like you, Robin. It always did make me feel took me out of the game a little bit if I like with Commander Shepard. If someone says to him, we're helping you out, and the answer is, I'm busy. But he'd say to you, listen, man, I got a ship.
Frig off.
I got a wife. I got kids. But I mean, I think the way they're trying to go for it. I mean, I think this is the same reason for Mass Effect as well. They can't have so many words on the screen, so they kind of just give you the gist. If your gist says "get me food," but then he says, "Oh, I've got a headache" or whatever, then he's a knob, whatever. No one cares about your headache.
Just all over us.
Yeah.
Basically.
Next.
So, I mean, before we touch on the Pip-Boy, I just want to say the world looks amazing. The environments look fantastic. I like that there was different areas. The city looked massive. Boston itself looked huge. In Skyrim, it's like 10 buildings. It's like the biggest city in the game. The volumetric lighting thing that I said, that's in there. He actually said those words. So, little PC gamer wank for me. Everything just looked really good. And the Pip-Boy, he said that as a second screen, you can do it with Battlefield 4, where you'd have the battle log on. Like I do it with my tablet sometimes, or my second monitor or whatever. So you can have your Pip-Boy in real time, so you can pick up your smartphone and do your Pip-Boy stats or your armor or whatever while playing the game, and it'll link up. They're releasing a Pip-Boy with the collector's edition, which I wrote down the price of $119, which I think is quite reasonable. Double the price of the game, and you get all this other shit. I think you get some perk stickers, you get a manual, a little Vault manual thing. Looked all right, but basically you put it on your wrist, and it's like you've got a Pip-Boy, and you can thingy. I can see knobheads walking down the street with their phone, like Pip-Boy in,
it's
and then
happen.
They take a call and they do it like futuristic. Hello, hi, I'm just on my Pip-Boy, Xbox. So
it's not much bigger than an Apple Watch. So
no, exactly. The future is here.
Future is now, baby. I liked how he said as well that people usually see these second screen things as gimmicks, and he says, they are gimmicks, but theirs is the best fucking one.
Exactly. They have the best gimmick, and it's true.
I like that. Anything else I didn't touch on? No, I think we covered everything. I mean, the game just looks beautiful. I'm a massive Bethesda fan, so I'm obviously pleased overall. What are you guys? Anything else before we move on to Microsoft?
Well, just quickly in the Fallout, you can't really. I know that was announced in the Microsoft bit, but the bit that you can develop mods on a PC and bring them over to Xbox for free for freezies.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know that probably doesn't mean anything to you, Richard, because you have it anyway on the PC, but it's going to make some interesting wrinkles with a console now that you have the Fallout mods there as well. So that should be fun.
I'll be able to make a mod, and you'll be able to download it.
There we go. I love it.
And blown.
Yeah.
I mean, just before we do move on, just for anyone who's listening, we'll probably see it later and talk about it later, but Bethesda did another little thing in the Microsoft conference, and you do see, 20 seconds more gameplay that we didn't see on the Bethesda one.
Yeah.
And but you saw like combat that was more free flow, like Greg said earlier, and you see the dog attacking someone.
Yeah.
Just a touch on the dog. It looks really interesting. You can direct him to places. It looks like a nice companion, and it'll be nice company in my shack that I'm going to build in my fucking hardcore town while I'm building my... Oh, you can customize your power armor. You can build your power armor and customize it. And
pretty much everything is customizable in the game. My question around the dog is the dog going to be optional?
It is.
Okay, because I mean, you're probably going to have something very early on that's going to basically funnel you to the dog to find the dog. But then from that point on, is the dog become an optional companion that you can take with you all the time, or or leave at home, or is it always going to be with you if you kind of accept the dog, so to speak?
Well, it didn't seem to be around when the power armor was on that scene.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Good point.
No, he had his own little doggy power armor in the corner of the screen.
Yeah, he was in that Record game. My only problem is friendly fire. I'm going to end up shooting that thing.
Yes.
Right?
Dead dog.
The way Bethesda did it with Skyrim is you couldn't kill your own companion if you hit them once.
Oh.
type of thing.
Right.
Okay.
You'd
If you
take
look,
multiple times.
yeah, if you notice the dialogue options with the dog as well, he says like, "Come with me, go home, go away," or whatever.
Right.
If it works like previous companions, the way it will be is if you accept that when you speak to the dog for the first time, when you say "come with me," that's it. He's your companion.
Right.
You can tell him to fuck off and then never speak to him again. But I'm probably gonna guess he's gonna stay there until oh shit, I decide to have him later.
Yeah.
When he's with you, just like any companion in Skyrim, you'll be able to say "go home," and he'll just wait for you at home.
Right. But more importantly, what I really like seeing was that you could actually use the dog in useful ways. Of if you saw something inside, say like a building, and you want the dog to go in there because you're maybe afraid there's a monster in there, you can send the dog in to get something and pull it out and not risk going in, or maybe lure the monster out of hiding and then you can just attack it. So I thought that was, it looks like it's going to be a cool addition.
Definitely. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they build that in because they've done a lot of focus on the dog.
Right.
That leads me to believe that there'll be a lot more for the dog that we haven't yet seen. So looking forward to that. So yeah, Fallout 4, November 10th. It looks fantastic. Well done to Bethesda for their show. I think they did really well. IGN fucked the stream up though. I was watching it this morning. It wasn't even live. And early on in the stream, like it was like stuttering and went off and went to this IGN wait screen. And then it went back. Some guy's Mac was on the screen. Like his fucking, he was looking at his Mac settings and I was like, this guy, come on, friend. What are you doing?
Right.
And then it went off and then it went back. But overall, I'm really impressed. I think it's time to talk about Microsoft though now.
All right.
I think we've talked enough Bethesda.
Yeah, I maybe we can all give quick final thoughts. Kim, what final thoughts on Bethesda?
For their first one, I think they did really well. I came away with it kind of, but then I was looking for, another Skyrim or something like that to pop up, and it didn't really happen. But, Dishonored too, I guess. There's that, so.
All right. Robin?
I'm excited for Fallout 3. I'll be buying it day one or very close to it. So
You mean 4?
roll on. Dishonored. Yeah, that was Bethesda. Of course it was. I like the female protagonist. I like the tie-in that it was a young girl. I never finished the first one. I thought it was a wee bit jank. I know a lot of people enjoyed it. So hopefully it'll be a good iteration on the first one and it will be the product that I really wanted out of the first one. So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thumbs up to Bethesda.
Excellent.
Good start to the conference.
Yeah, I think probably echoing all of your statements the same way. I came away with it impressed for Bethesda's first, their first E3 press conference ever. I think they did a good job. I was a little disappointed by the breadth of content. I was hoping we might get, a few more really big surprise kind of announcements from them. But, what they showed and what they delivered on, that to me, at least secured them a place of being one of the better conferences probably from E3. I really don't think they could can fall from that spot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And there was just what we heard in the Microsoft conference. There's interesting things that they left out, which will be applicable. I'm quite sure.
Right.
Like the backwards, which we'll get to, the compatibility thing. Being able to play Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas on an Xbox One.
All right. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Anyway, yep.
So, all right. Well, that is it for Bethesda. Rich, thanks for leading that discussion.
No problem.
Now we are going to switch gears. No pun intended, or maybe pun intended. And we're going to go on to the Microsoft conference.
While you're switching screens there, Greg, I'll just say that Microsoft is a company that makes Xbox, and they currently have the Xbox One. And Greg, have you got the stream ready? Is it ready?
It should be. Yep,
it's on shelves. Store shelves right now. Games sold separately, unless it's a bundle, and then you get a game.
Okay. Microsoft kicked off their conference. They did a little kind of montage trailer at the very beginning of the conference, but I think one of the big surprises for me is Bonnie Ross, head of 343, came out, and she actually started the conference, which traditionally you get the head of Microsoft, Phil Spencer, or in years past it was Jack Tretton that was coming out on stage first, and so this was just an interesting twist. And I'm just kind of wondering if maybe Microsoft was playing a little bit to that sensitivity of women in gaming and really trying to give them a front and center role. Not that she doesn't deserve to be kicking off the conference, but I felt it was noteworthy. Halo 5. They started the conference off with Halo 5. We saw a lot of gameplay. They talked about the multiplayer. The big team battle Warzone got put on display. So, Robin, I don't know if you were able to see any of the Halo 5 stuff.
No, I was driving at the time. Shit, blowing my horn, trying to get here.
That's
I
true.
I missed the Halo
Yes.
bit.
Robin was.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
questions that I have. Did you see any of the story mode? Because I'm not really
Yes.
interested in the multiplayer stuff. So I want the story mode. You know, did that
Yes.
look beefy?
Yeah, they did. They did show off a good chunk of story. In fact, you'll be able to see it right now in the Twitch feed. Um, so from the story mode, one of the interesting things is that I can't remember the guy's name. I want to say it's Josh Holmes, but he's the creative director, and a lot of people were assuming he was the creative director for multiplayer. But it turns out he is also part of the single player. He's the person that also worked on Star Wars Republic Commando. Which, if you remember that game, that was a first-person shooter where you actually had a squad with you of stormtroopers that you commanded and gave orders to. Same thing is happening in this go-around with Halo 5. You have a squad of 3 additional teammates with you. I believe you're a fire team of 4 altogether, and you can issue orders to those individual teammates, or if you're in gameplay, co-op gameplay, then those people will be with you, and they'll take the roles of those different Spartans.
I like Bonnie Ross.
Ironically, those same sentiments were echoed earlier when we were listening to it live. But yeah, so it looks really good. There's a little bit of kind of a cartoony art style. I don't want to say cartoony, but I don't know. Maybe even cel shaded. I couldn't quite put my a word to it in terms of the character design in Halo 5. They've gotten away from being like ultra realistic, but it still looks really good. We also know that Buck from Halo ODST makes a return. That's Nathan Fillion. He is having a role again in Halo 5. I don't know. Overall, I was super impressed. I don't want to spend a ton of time just glomming on.
Let's not.
There's a lot to cover. So I'm just going to let the stream roll, but we're going to move on. The next game that was announced, or I should say, Kim, did you have any thoughts on Halo 5 before we move on?
No, just more Halo.
Yeah, it is more Halo. I would highly recommend anybody interested in the Halo franchise, Hunt the Truth. It's an audio series. You can pick it up on your podcast listening device. Check it out. It's all free. It's about probably an hour long in total now, about 13 different episodes of a kind of a lead up to Halo 5. It's really quite good. So Recore is the next game that was announced, and this is an Xbox exclusive. Honestly, out of left field, had no idea this was coming. It basically shows this young girl walking through kind of a desert, if you will, with a robot dog, and the robot dog at some point is defending her and basically kind of wipes out a bunch of other enemy creatures that were coming in after them. But its core, if you will, it was like a blue orb core, is left behind. And the girl takes that core and then puts it into a different robot she found, that was basically kind of like dead, if you will, that was nearby. Its Hulk was there, and she puts the core into that, and suddenly that robot now becomes her companion. So not a lot known. I mean, honestly, can't say too much other than it looks super interesting, really well done graphically. I mean, it looks impressive, but again, hard to know if that's in-game or if that's just kind of a CGI trailer.
It looked a bit like, it reminded me of Destiny. It looked like, oh my goodness, this is a big add-on to Destiny. It had that look and feel to it. There was dogs and there was sand and there was that sort of vista, that barren thing. But it was like all the way through, I was going like, because that's where I arrived home and switched it on. I was like, what the heck is this? So something new. It's good. It's not free to play thing, which is good. It's a standalone IP. So I look forward to that. That looks exciting. Something new with dogs.
Yeah, again, new IP. I'm never going to complain about that. It looks like they're giving it some high production value, so excited to see where this goes. Rich, did you have any thoughts on Recore before we continue on?
Yeah, it looked okay.
Nah, I'm always back. I didn't realize we're back. I was going to do your voice for you there, Rich. Nah, mate, I thought it was all right. It's all right. No, it was very Londoner, wasn't it? I
was,
can't do accents.
It was okay. I can't play it, but it looked interesting, and I'd prefer to have seen gameplay. But at this early stage, spring next year, we'll probably get a trailer probably towards Christmas.
Yeah, or maybe even potentially Gamescom. We know they certainly held a lot back for Gamescom. So they moved on from Recore, and this is, I think, when the conference really shifted gears into one of where, okay, Microsoft hit a stride with this.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer finally gets on stage, and the first words out of his mouth basically are backwards compatibility for Xbox 360 games. Most asked for feature. All your digital Xbox 360 games are going to be coming over to you free. You don't have to pay for them again. You'll have access to them. And disc-based backwards compatibility also will be rolling out. It's rolling out to preview members in the beta preview today. At some point, it'll come out today. This is a pretty big deal. I'm assuming this is all software-based, so I'm wondering if it's going to be similar to the Xbox 360 of back in the day, where it was a set number of games, not all games were backwards compatible.
It is.
Yeah, and
It
so
is that. They said there's 100 by holiday or by fall. There'll be 100 games.
yeah, so don't just go running out and buying every game possible. You might want to make sure and double check that list, but still. A huge, I'm assuming these are going to be the most popular titles out there, games that probably a lot of people wanted to continue playing.
Castle Crashers, all those Xbox
Right?
Live Arcade games, Super Meat Boy, just wow, to be able to play that again, brilliant.
Red Dead.
Red Dead,
Red
holy
Dead,
smokes,
yeah.
holy smokes, yeah.
Red Dead.
So
Years 3.
this was big, yeah, this was
And
definitely big.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not much more to say on this other than, it'll be interesting to, see how it performs because, certainly it's a
Well, it
software
does have
solution.
a tie-in. It has a tie-in to something that came later on, which is the Rare announcement. So, we'll get to it, but there is a Rare announcement, like a super pack of games, like 30 old games on one disc or on one download or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of opens the doors to that sort of thing. So you're going to have multi-packs digital of Gears 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever it may be of all that sort of, or a certain style of games, 30 games for 30 quid.
I don't think so, Robin. I don't think so because they pretty much came out and said we're not going to charge you for your old games again. So I wonder if really, because if you look at that Rare, by the way, that Rare pack that we're talking about, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But that Rare pack was that was like 30 games. Those were not all quote unquote Xbox 360 games. That was going back to the original Xbox.
Here's something I'm worried about with all of this. Okay. Mm-hmm. And my only worry is the dashboard and how you navigate all of this new content.
Well, they did talk about that. There's going to be a new UI dashboard experience that they're going to be rolling out as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is there's going to be an Xbox 360 games section, backwards compatibility area. That's going to be rolling out.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. Imagine if they had done this 2 years ago. Frick me.
Yeah. Well, I think hey, this is what competition's all about. The fact that they were behind pushed them, and they looked at where can we make gains, and this is a big area for a lot of people. So.
Sorry, Mark in the chat has made a very, very good point that this is a mega dig at PlayStation Now. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, very much. This is how we do backwards compatibility. Anyway, so next up in the conference, they announced the Elite controller, and everybody knew about the new Xbox 360 controller, the revised one. They just came out with the 3.5mm jack and the bumpers, and I just assumed that's what they were going to be showing. And lo and behold, they come out with this other controller that has turbo buttons. It's got underbelly pad bumpers and toggles. I mean, this thing is basically set up for competition across the board. It was it was beyond words. I think at this point, in terms of just kind of the
It was
change.
like a transformer in your hand. It was like, oh, you can take this off and that off and this off and do all this with it.
Yeah.
And
the
I
sticks can be
suppose
changed out, the whole 9
Yeah.
yards.
I
They
think
said as
also
well-
with sorry,
Sorry,
Rich,
go ahead.
with the whole PC crossover thing, the more complicated games that we'll get to that just coming,
Right.
which need more buttons.
Right.
It has those extra. So instead of just having the 2 bumpers at the back, you've got an extra 2 underneath. So, ooh, cool, yeah, bro. Sorry, Rich, carry on.
He said it's coming to Xbox and Windows, which is good because the Xbox One pad, when that was released, it took about a year before a driver was released for it to work on PC. So it's coming out for Windows, and I think it ties in with what you said, Robin. The fact that there's going to be more of these PC type games, those extra buttons on the back will play a part in that, and the Steam controller has those buttons on the underside of the grips. That's
Right.
what it has, some extra buttons there, so they kind of mirrored that design as well, which I think is a benefit. To be honest, I think it will help.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think one of the other things that we haven't really talked about, the D-pad is completely different. This D-pad almost looks like, if I had to guess, I would almost think it has that kind of haptic feedback kind of dial to it, as opposed to just being an actual D-pad. Yeah, it's on screen right now for anybody in the chat watching the video. Anyway, it will be really interesting to see how this is received, but I'm kind of excited for it. I didn't think I would be, but this looks like it might be something really worthwhile picking up.
It's one of those things that we didn't know we needed.
Yeah.
And now, woo. So
Yeah. All right. So moving on from the Elite controller, this is when we saw Todd Howard come back out on stage, Fallout 4, and he talked about mods on PC, Xbox One, free. They're coming out. I don't know if this was an exclusive feature, but he made it sound like it was in partnership with Microsoft. So that threw me off. I don't know if that is the case. It may very well be the the PS4 version will also get mods.
we'll know in a few hours.
Yeah, we'll definitely know. Either way, it's a big thing.
He said when he was on stage that he's been banging on about this feature with Microsoft for a long time. He said last year or the year before, it may have even been the year before that.
Right.
It's down to the console manufacturers to allow this feature. It's something he wanted to do, and it's down to them now. Whether or not Sony have allowed it as well, and he's yet to announce it, we don't know. But as far as it goes, it's an Xbox-only thing on the basis that it's because Microsoft has now allowed it to be. If Sony allow it, then it could be the PlayStation thing as well, but it's not really up to Bethesda to make that decision.
Yeah. Well,
No, I'm not being an Xbox fanboy. Okay, I'm not. But really, it's the perfect synergy between Microsoft and Xbox. That synergy is not there between Sony and Microsoft to share that. Sony and it would be Microsoft, wouldn't it? Because Microsoft with Fallout, it would be running on Fallout on a Microsoft system, which would have to share data with Sony, or would it be Bethesda that shares that data with Sony?
Bethesda would be sharing the data. So it'll
be interesting to see.
Yeah,
but the way he talked about it, it didn't sound like it was open season. But it might be just PR for now, and then we all poo-poo it tomorrow.
Right.
So we'll wait and see what Sony come back, because I'm sure Sony are going to come out shooting.
Yeah, I think what we can take away from this though is that Microsoft probably has a marketing deal with Fallout 4, and that's in place. So moving on from here. EA came out on stage. Peter Moore came out right after Todd Howard, and he talked about EA Access. It looks like they are definitely putting forward a big push for EA Access. If you haven't got EA Access yet, and you thought it was just sports games, and that's kind of why you didn't want to necessarily jump in on it, they announced that Titanfall is coming today to EA Access. So anybody in EA Access will have access to Titanfall. And then in August, they are bringing out Dragon Age Inquisition, and so that's a nice
Fabulous.
big that's perfect for those of you that have been wanting to get rid of your disc. You now can.
What an argument! It's not even an argument anymore. I mean, if you're buying a new Xbox One with a 20 quid subscription, look at the games library you have there. For EA Access is fabulous, and being able to play Need for Speed and your football, American football game, for a week ahead of time. And even if you're not going to buy it, you're still going to get a couple of hours. And already you've had a couple of hours of Hardline and other stuff like that now. So it's a really, really good proposition.
Yeah,
really good.
And the price is staying the same. I was actually afraid they were going to raise the price this year, but they are not. They're keeping it $30 a year, or you can do $5 a month if you want. But why you would do that, I don't know. They also announced Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 coming in 2016. It wasn't an exclusive game. This is just a world premiere, so it looks like that's going to become multi-platform day one, all systems. But I'm happy to see that game getting a sequel. It was a fun game previously.
Thing, yeah.
And then from there, and chime in, by the way. I know I'm skipping through a lot of this. There was a lot of content in the Microsoft
There's a lot of
conference.
stuff. We'll be here all night.
Yeah.
We can't
Yeah.
because the next one starts in 20 minutes.
Exactly. So I'm trying to push through this. So the next game out was Forza 6.
Sick. That's
yeah.
what I've written. It looks sick.
Yeah, it
24
looks...
car multiplayer, weather effects, rain, skidding, beautiful cars. Can't wait.
Day-night cycles, 24 cars. I mean, it looked fantastic. One of the other things I noticed in one of the shots of the videos as it was on screen is somebody ran into one of the tire pylons and numerous tires go flying out onto the track. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a little bit of element of destructible environment to the tracks. And of course they showed off the GT, the new Ford GT, and that car is just gorgeous.
Man love, I tell you.
Yeah, total man love. Next up, another world premiere. This is one that was leaked out actually earlier in the weeks leading up to E3. Dark Souls 3 is making a return to consoles. We just had Dark Souls 2. Now we get Dark Souls 3. It's coming in 2016. I believe that there was no specific time window. But I would imagine they will keep tradition with some of their previous releases and do that springtime kind of thing. Looks like more Dark Souls. I don't think there was anything shocking with what we saw there. Are any of you excited for a new Dark Souls game, or is it maybe too soon?
Yeah. It looks great, but it's not not my bag. I'm sure loads of the guys are unbelievably excited about it. But yeah, there's something for everybody. So that's not for me.
I've never really played them, but it was only a CGI trailer. I tend not to get too excited over those.
Yeah.
Kim, you? Dark
more.
Souls?
I like Dark Souls, but I can't play them. I'm not that good. I'm one of those people that will die and die and die and die until I get pissed off and throw the controller and walk away and probably play Dragon Age because it's more my speed. But it looked really nice. So, it's just not my thing.
All right, not your thing. That's okay. We're seeing footage of Forza 6 right now on screen for those of you interested.
Try not to drool.
Trying not to drool. It's hard not to, man. It looks fantastic. It does look fantastic. All right, so the next game that got up on stage, Microsoft continues their partnership with Ubisoft. The Division shows off, really didn't show off, I think, anything we hadn't seen before. It was pretty much the Division, if you will.
Yeah, well, I mean, the differences was for me when the announcement, and Rich pointed it out at the time, that was described as an RPG, which was quite interesting. I think last year the footage we saw looked better, but I actually think that this is a good thing this year.
Yeah, maybe they're learning.
Yeah, so it looks a bit more achievable on a system. Some of the edges maybe just weren't as sharp. Some of the textures just maybe weren't as good or as polished, because it's crazy with the that whole Watch Dogs thing. So maybe they're learning from that. The Watch Dog looks so good, and then the game we got wasn't so great, and they were setting themselves up for a fall. I think that was one of my predictions this year, that it would come out and it wouldn't look as good as. But I think it still looked fantastic right now. It still looked good. But again, I'm not that excited about it because we've heard so much about it and it's gone on and on. So it'll be a wait and see thing for me with that.
I'm pretty excited for it. And Rich, one of the things that was noted on this, they're not calling it a shooter. They're calling it an action RPG.
Yeah, that's a really interesting direction because that is a new genre for a Tom Clancy game, really.
Yeah.
You know, before now we've had shooters, we've had stealth games. I don't think they've tried RPG before, and I can see how it kind of fits in the world. Bear in mind, Tom Clancy is a novelist, and it's actual stories that he wrote. So it's interesting, and will be interesting to see what they can do with it. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, one, we'll be able to experience it as I stumble over these words. There's a beta coming in December. So on top of the Tom Clancy Division information, we also saw Rainbow Six Siege, and the announcement that there's an exclusive deal with Microsoft for Vegas and Vegas 2, Rainbow Six Vegas and Vegas 2, that will be included in as part of a pre-order bonus for the Division. For Rainbow Six Siege. So that was kind of exciting news. The backwards compatibility.
Was it pre-order bonus, or did you not get it anyway? No.
I thought it was a pre-order bonus. You may just get it anyway. I
thought we just got it anyway. Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. Either way, backwards compatibility, starting to play more prominent roles in some of the partnerships that they're doing. So, Kim, any excitement over the Division or Rainbow Six Siege?
Actually, yeah. I actually have Rainbow Six Siege, pre-ordered because I want to try the beta and actually see if I'm halfway decent. But I watched the Division. I hadn't really seen much about it. I hadn't really been paying attention, and it does look interesting. So I'll give it a try.
I tried the alpha on the PC a little while ago, and what I enjoyed about it is it was very much like Vegas 2, where it was very freeform. It was every game was different. People could be coming from anywhere. What I liked about Siege is that all the windows could be broken into. A lot of the rooms you can enter through different ways. There wasn't as much destructible environments as they made out in the first trailer. In the first gameplay they showed where that woman from Ubisoft was cussing like crazy. Everything was blowing up. They kind of toned it down a bit. I think they sort of saw the limitations, like further development. But from what I played, it was really fun. And I think this could be a very good squad-based game. If you can get a couple of guys together to play along with, I think it'd be really fun.
Exactly. So.
Yep. All right. From there, we saw the game. I believe it's Gigantica.
Yes.
Which is their big free-to-play Windows 10 and Xbox One exclusive beta coming in August. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this. I don't think any of us walked away from this being like, oh my god, I want to play that. I want to play that. I think we kind of like, free-to-play.
Yeah.
It felt.
Happy Wars.
Yeah, Happy Wars. Yeah. That's a pretty decent description. Then from there we got a big indie montage, and Microsoft kind of keeping in step with what they started to do last year, and certainly what Sony had been doing in their previous press conferences, giving indies love on stage, walking out developers onto the stage to talk about their games specifically. We saw 4 different indie games and their developers come out. It was Tacoma, Ashen, Beyond Eyes, and Cuphead. Which I believe are all exclusive indie games coming to the Xbox One as well. They all looked very good.
They all look really interesting, yeah. And I love the Beyond Eyes thing, which looked unfinished Swanish to me in color. Really good, but the blind girl, that looked gorgeous. And the Ashen thing, which was like, for me, a bit like the style of Brothers, with a bit of co-op thing going on there. You had to help each other to get through the
maybe
through
even
different puzzles.
Almost Journey-like to me in some respects, because it didn't sound like you could voice chat. It almost was like you're communicating through gesture. Yeah. So that will be really interesting to see. Tacoma, I think, was kind of Adrift-like, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was like a mix between Adrift and like BioShock in the art style and stuff.
Right.
So that'll be interesting. Cuphead was like 1920s cartoon, but in game it looked really interesting. It looked more, like Greg said, it looked more fun than actually watching those cartoons back in the day. So quite good to see. It looked almost kind of Castle Crashers-y in the gameplay. The bit when I think they were on a log and there was a ship or something and they were jumping up, and it reminded me a lot gameplay-wise of Castle Crashers. So we'll see what happens with that one.
Yeah, very interesting. And then from there, they talked about the new pilot program they're kicking off. Xbox game. Was it game? Sorry, Xbox game
preview.
Preview, yeah. So it's basically early access for Xbox and Windows 10. That's what I took from it. They talked about DayZ, Elite Dangerous, and was it Alone in the Dark? Was that the other game? I didn't catch the third one.
It was Sheltered.
Sorry, Kim. What was that, Kim?
Was it Long Dark?
Long Dark? Maybe that was it. It was something dark. I remember that.
Sheltered was another one.
They said the words Xbox Elite dangerous, and I fell off my seat. Oh my god! With that Elite controller.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. So
That'll come in handy for a game like Elite.
oh yeah. I'm checking and checking because it's for is a preview program first because that's available later today allegedly as well. And I
Yeah.
keep on
Right,
checking and checking and checking and checking.
They
Hurry
said
up,
there'd be
do
more
it,
details
update.
at the Xbox thing that's on later today. They said there'd be more details on that little show they do.
Yep,
What was it?
yep.
Xbox I can't remember what they call it. Xbox TV or something. I don't know.
yeah, they're doing every day. They're doing a live event, so they'll be making that announcement there. Then they brought out the DayZ developer. He talked about DayZ coming into the preview program, and he also talked about a new game, Ion, which, as we started looking at it, the instant thought I had, because it looks like it's a space exploration game, huge environments. I got the feeling of Sony's game, and of course it's No Man's Sky. It had a little bit of that vibe to me. I could be completely wrong. We don't really know much about the game, but yeah, I'm really kind of interested to see more on that.
Yeah.
All right, so from there we got our first look at gameplay for Tomb Raider.
Yay.
Yay.
Rise of that Tomb Raider.
Rise of that Tomb Raider, yes.
I want to say straight away, this game looked intense, very climactic, very visceral, and I like the direction that they're going with the Tomb Raider franchise from the reboot that they made, and now the sequel.
Yeah. Look, I loved the last Tomb Raider reboot. I am all on board with this. It looks like it's going to be just as fun and exciting as the last game was. I think we're getting hints that there's going to be a lot more exploration and that kind of thing, which, again, I really am happy they're going in that direction and not just trying to totally mimic Uncharted. But yeah, this is their kind of big get for holiday, and it still remains a holiday exclusive. What that means, what other platforms, will it come to the PS4? Probably, but we don't know for sure. PC, I think, is almost a guarantee given the Windows 10 kind of situation. But we saw it. It looks great. More Lara Croft and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, and the gameplay looks great. It kind of had a token like Red Shirt from Star Trek, that guy with her. He was just like there to be a guy. Avalanche, that's always exciting. Every time there's an avalanche in a film or whatever, it's like, wow. I love the first game. I didn't finish it. I need to finish it before I play the next one.
Yes, you do.
So, Kim,
it's popcorn.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kim, you fire on.
Yeah, Kim, is it safe to say this is a game you're excited for?
Oh, definitely. I played the first one, having not really ever played a Tomb Raider game, and that was it for me. I mean, that was pretty much a game I played for like a straight month, just so I could beat it, collect all the little stuff and all that stuff. So yeah, it'll definitely be a day one game for me.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is a popcorn movie. It's a popcorn game. It's all action, fantastic, over the top. She gets a big massive cut down her thigh or her arm, and then all of a sudden she's okay a couple of seconds later. That's fine. And again, the line is blurred between it and Uncharted. It's now all action, big die hard sort of games, and brilliant. They're refreshing. It's a palate cleanser. It's not too hard to think about, not too puzzling. Maybe the puzzles will get a bit harder, but even still, I can't wait. Can't wait for that. I love they do the movie, the gameplay the movie thing very well.
Yeah, I like
sort of
that.
slipping that was very clever, very well done. So,
I love
bring it
when
on.
games do that.
Yep. All right. Well, from Tomb Raider, Rare comes on stage. We get a big announcement about the Rare Replay, which is I haven't. It's a boxed set of 30 different Rare games, all for $30. So I think this is really a fan service announcement. More, I don't know.
You're really going to go back and play After Dark or Banjo-Kazooie? Really? Are you really? But even still, lovely to have.
Again, it is a nice nod. Are any of you, would you be on board with something like this? Me personally, no. To be honest.
Yes. I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. Yeah.
I think it'd be great as a parent for your kids.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
for
point.
young kids.
Yeah, 30 games.
We should probably mention though, you probably won't be able to get GoldenEye in this.
Probably not. Yeah.
But it looked really good. I mean, you gotta love the old platforms. Like I said, for the kids, if you got an Xbox, you can't. If you got Gears on one night, the next day stick the game on for the kid. Keep him quiet while you have a nap.
Right.
Done. Parenting tick.
Yep. Parenting tick. Exactly. Kim, are you up for the Rare games or no?
I think it would depend on what all they have in it. I mean, because there's a lot of games in there that I've probably never played before that I might want to, give a go around. So maybe if it's like, ever gets down to like $19 or something, I'd probably give it a shot.
$19 for Bangers because you eat nuts and bolts is worth it anyway. That alone.
And 10,000 gamer score, probably worth noting. Next year's gamer score challenge. There you go, Robin.
Robin, there you go.
Yeah, goodness. Yeah, well, I mean, Viva Pinata's on it, so will gamer score be attached?
That's a great game.
Oh, Viva Pinata, I forgot about that. Yeah, no. Yeah. So good value there. Then this was probably outside of Recore, because Recore was a big surprise to us. The next game blew us all away. Rare is announcing their new IP, and all of us are thinking, okay, it's some kind of reboot. It's a new Banjo game, and we start to see it unfold. And I don't think any of us saw it coming. A pirate game, an open world MMO kind of pirate game.
Shared world adventure game, I think was the term they used.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves.
So you had a bit of Assassin's Creed with the ships going in sea battles. You had like 4-player co-op sort of thing. Sure, fighting other battles. Oh, it just looks fabulous and cartoony. It just looks like lots of fun. What was the adventure game that everybody talks about? It was a point and click by Double Fine.
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island. It looks like Monkey Island, but in 3D. As if that was 3D-ified. And so that sort of style.
Yeah,
of parrot, fun parrot.
I can just safely say, didn't see this coming, and once we get the shot of the pirate ship, I start thinking about, okay, well, they made a pirate game, but then you see on the pirate ship everybody manning the pirate ship and multiple people having to man the sails and man the cannons. This took on a whole different level of cooperative gameplay in my eyes. I'm super curious to know what's the maximum player limits. We're seeing it right now. You're seeing people climbing the masts and manning the sails and stuff. It's just
parties.
It looks fantastic. Did anybody catch the name? Because I've written pirate game looks sick.
Sea of Thieves.
Yes, Sea of Thieves.
The way I've written it is that I've described it as if imagine Viva Pinata and Monkey Island got married and had a kid. And then they got divorced. And then Monkey Island drank his way into the gutter and just became a nobody. And Viva Pinata, the mum, went on and married Assassin's Creed.
Right.
And then they had another baby. That sibling relationship would be Siege Pirate. What was it called?
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. Right. So that's a very long note that I've written there. But yeah, it looks really good. I'm hoping it comes to Windows. They said Xbox exclusive, but I'm so thrilled if that comes to Windows because that just looks amazing. It just looks like a lot of fun. Do you know what I mean? Yep. Games aren't. You don't always need to chainsaw demons in half
right.
You don't need that all the time. Sometimes you just need colourful. Give me a ship, point me in a direction, and I'll just fuck shit up. That's it.
Yeah. Kim, are you excited for Sea of Thieves?
Yeah, but I'll be the one they give the bucket and the mop to because that's all I'll be able to handle. I'll be the one puking over the side, that'll be me.
You'll be a cabin wench.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's you and me both, Kim. I will be a cabin wenches also. We moved on from there, from Sea of Thieves to Fable Legends. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this. We've seen it before. It's been in closed beta and pretty much on and off all this past year. I think it comes out this summer, if I'm not mistaken, so we'll be able to play it. It's free to play, so it looks very nice. I just, I have concerns about gameplay. Anybody else want to throw in a quick thought on it, and then we move on?
I thought it looked better than it has. Any time I've seen it, it actually looked quite attractive that time, quite sort of fun-ish sort of thing. And it's free to play, so we'll see how they're going to try and make their money out of it. But yeah, I'm more interested in it than I was before.
Cross-platform play. I think that'd be interesting to see that because they'll be testing out for other games. Hopefully, more cross-platform play will be coming.
Yeah. Oh goodness. And yeah, the cross. You talk about the backwards compatibility. That also means you can have somebody playing a 360 and it's cross-platform to the Xbox One now as well. So
no,
we're talking PC.
I'll be able to play with you guys.
Oh, as well as PC.
Windows-
Yeah,
no,
I know. Yeah, so it's wow.
So, Robin,
You'll be
it's actually only Xbox One and Windows 10 PC. It's not Xbox 360. That's important to note.
Are you sure? Did they not say
Yes.
that? Was those backwards compatibility things?
Nope, I'm positive. It is Windows 10 Xbox One exclusive. Uh,
Oh,
so
okay.
from there, Kim, Fable Legends.
Yeah, if I can get enough people to play, hell, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, fair enough.
Looks pretty good.
It is a game that's going to require friends. That's for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Gutted on me.
Okay, so they brought out Kudo Sanada onto stage. Then he talks about Oculus Rift and their partnership, which we all heard about just earlier in the week. So, Microsoft kind of securing a partnership with Oculus. I think this is also probably a bigger play on the Windows 10 side of things than it is necessarily on the Xbox One side of it. But nice features. You can play Xbox One games using the Oculus Rift if you want to have a more private experience. But it's not a true Oculus experience. So you're not playing an actual Xbox One game designed to use Oculus. You're playing Xbox One games through the Oculus, basically like a screen, and just like a television, just with the Oculus. The big one from the virtual reality and augmented reality side of it was HoloLens. They brought it out on stage, and much like what we had heard before, they started talking Minecraft. But this time they actually demoed it, and I think this has one of those kind of wow moments, at least in my eyes.
Yeah,
I
very
felt
much.
like Marty McFly going to the year 2015. I thought I was watching the future. It was like, oh my god, this is actually happening. And like, now that guy's doing it now.
If they can pull this off,
Holy moly, it's just, holy augmented reality Batman. It was just amazing that like he lifted the map up and moved the map around, and it seemed as if the map size of view was just as big as whatever table you were using to view the world on. Be interesting to see how big your Minecraft world is if it was like a boardroom.
how many P's is your dining room table?
Yeah.
Coffee table P or is it dinner table P?
I have a low res P dining room table. Damn it.
Yeah, no, the cool thing for me was, yes, pulling it out of the table and stuff like that, but was seeing the other character, the other player running
Right.
around in it. You were looking down at her character. I thought that was brilliant.
It was very
Yeah.
goddess-like, if you will. I mean, you were overwatching the whole world, and you saw the players cruising around. Kim, are you a big Minecraft fan?
No.
No. Okay, I'm with
No.
you. I'm not the biggest Minecraft fan, but I found this pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I'll give you that. But my thing is, my dad already looks at me strange when he walks by and I'm yelling at the Kinect to turn the Xbox on or something. So if he was to walk in and I've got like HoloLens or something on my face, I'm gonna be carted off to the loony bin. So
You're just gonna be there screaming at nothing. What are you doing on that? What are you doing? And your dad's like, "Why are you shouting at your coffee? What's going
yeah,
on?
exactly.
Standing,
Yeah.
pointing at a table.
Yeah.
You stupid bastard!"
You stupid table over there, move! And the HoloLens won't be so bad because
Damn it.
it's goggles rather than complete enclosure, so you can still see around you. So
Right.
yeah,
You know what?
That's cool.
What happened in Back to the Future 2, guys? When Marty McFly went to the future and young Marty McFly Jr. had the headset on and he was watching telly or whatever at the table.
Other channel,
Fucking HoloLens.
channel.
It's 2015 now. HoloLens is what he had on. Back to the Future predicted it fucking 20 years ago, whatever, 30 years ago. Boom.
There we go.
Yeah.
I
At
still want
least
my auto drying coat.
the one thing I like about HoloLens is I'm never going to not see somebody, coming at me.
Yeah.
When my wife goes to hit me in the back of the head, I will see it coming. Whereas with VR, whether it be
Terrified she'll put a knife in your back on the Oculus Rift.
no, it won't be a knife, but I guarantee I will get a pillow thrown at my head or something that it will freak the hell out. I will freak out because of course it'll happen. I'll be in the middle of some horror game that I already hate, and suddenly it's going to be a tap on the shoulder or just blowing on the back of your neck type thing, and I will just freak out.
You should
Like a
you should
little-
program it. Program it so every time your wife comes into view, it puts an augmented knife in her hand.
No. All right, so from there, we got into the last bits of the conference. The very last thing, basically, they brought out Rod Ferguson onto stage, and he started talking about Gears of War, and most well, most notably that the Gears of War Ultimate Edition is coming. It's a remaster of the first Gears of War. This had been leaked. It's not all three, but with backwards compatibility, we now know we don't necessarily need all three, right? So the first one's been remastered, and then they dropped the bombshell of, one, they're going to have a public beta for Gears of War 4, and then they showed off Gears of War 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, Robin, thoughts?
Dark, scary sort of thing, atmospheric. I think I said while I was watching it, if this was Lara Croft walking up the steps or Nathan or Drake, it could have fitted into either of those worlds. It looked that sort of adventure-y thing rather than a pure battle thing. Usually you go from firefight to firefight with Gears, and there seemed to be an awful lot of walking up these stairs and through the castle, and it was all very atmospheric with the rain. Looked brilliant, looked fabulous.
Right.
But goodness, and I love Gears, and I'll probably love this, but I wasn't mega excited. I'm sure Nicole was peeing her pants probably.
Yeah, I saw the
and
picture
quite
on
a few
WhatsApp.
people, and I can't wait for it. But it looked great, but it's more Gears. Sorry.
Right. No apologies. To each their own, right? Kim, were you a big Gears fan?
Not until 3, probably. I mean, I tried to play 2, but it was just really super hard for me to get into. Okay. But I really enjoyed 3, so I'm kind of like Robin here. I'm excited for it, but I want to see more.
Right. I suppose one notable thing we should say from the Gears of War 4 footage is it's not Marcus Phoenix we see on screen.
No, it isn't.
It looks like they have moved on, and maybe this is just a small snippet of the story, obviously, but both characters shown in the game are not from the old Gears of War crew. Maybe this is Marcus Phoenix's son. I don't know. Who knows who this guy is? But was it Jay? I'm trying to remember his name. They said it in the trailer.
Generic husky white guy name.
Generic husky white guy. Although he doesn't look overly husky. He's thinned out. I noticed they've gotten away from the gigantic, muscle-bound model.
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, yeah, you're right. I've completely lied. He's more of a fair-haired, slimmer down version of like.
He's a
what
ginger.
they usually go for. They usually go for hulks, don't they? Yeah, ginger. I didn't want to
that's
say.
right. He wasn't oversized, was he? He was more normal looking.
Yeah.
That's why it didn't look like Gears at all for that reason. I mean, I didn't
maybe that's what
he
it was
just looked
too.
like he looked just more. But then again, it's not Epic making this game anymore, is it? And Epic do that big muscle shit, for Unreal stuff, don't they?
But this is using Unreal 4, so
This
is an Unreal 4 engine as far as I know. So, yeah, it looks fantastic. I'm super excited for more Gears, so I cannot wait. Sign me up. The Coalition has me convinced they are on the right track with this. And it probably also should be noted. It looks like new kind of enemies that we were at least in this bit tracking down. Something we've never seen before. It wasn't the Locust, or at least as far as we know, it's not Locust. So more mystery.
Yeah, they're going in. It's a new direction, and we won't be able to play the full release till holiday next year. It gives them plenty of time to sort of polish the game, make sure it works. Because the last thing Microsoft need is a buggy game like Gears, like Master Chief Collection was.
Right.
I got a feeling this will probably be the most polished game Microsoft have ever published. Basically, this is going to be spot on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to make sure this works.
You definitely get a good vibe that they're at least taking this in the right direction. So overall impressions and thoughts. Let's wrap up the Microsoft conference. Kim, why don't you take the lead on this? What were your thoughts?
I was impressed, like normal. I mean, the backwards compatibility really, like, just wow. That was my big thing, I think, for me. So, I'm excited to see what happens further down the road.
All right, fair enough. Robin, what about you? Impressions, Microsoft.
I don't think they put a foot wrong. I thought it was a very, very impressive presentation. I thought, for me, the highlights, the backwards compatibility, great. For me, this new thing with Elite Dangerous in there, fantastic. Forza 6, the modding, You know, the HoloLens as Fantasy Island it is, maybe a year, 2 or 3 years, or never come. But just that it had that sizzle. It was, just brilliant. And with the missteps that they've had 2 years ago, they improved. Last year was good. This year they built on that. Props to Phil Spencer. He has pulled that team together over the last year and a half, and I really look forward to the Sony conference in the middle of the night, waking up to see if they've been able to top this. Because if they can top that, wow, we're in for such a treat. And if they do top it, fantastic, great. But I think that these guys are right on target this year, really right on message, and we're in for a great year or two of gaming.
All right, Mr. Webster, your final thoughts.
Well, I'll be the devil's advocate and say I don't think they showed enough new stuff in terms of new IPs. However, this is the year of polishing up the things that we've been hearing so much about. Rise of the Tomb Raider being Xbox exclusive. What's it going to look like? The new Gears of War, the Halo 5. I think this year is Microsoft, like Robin said, bringing it back together, because they have kind of had a few mishaps over the last couple of years. They're infusing it together, and do you know what? The new IPs they did show are really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to Gamescom to see what they show, because Phil Spencer said himself there'll be more new IPs at Gamescom, and also the PC stuff, the PC interaction being more forefronted. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out as well.
Yeah, I mean, what's really, just that one final thought with what Richard said there about Gamescom. They were confident enough this time not to have to show everything. They've held big stuff back, which right. shows confidence, because if they were nervous, oh my god, we have to put everything out, they would have had Crackdown and everything else there, and they didn't.
And they confirmed Crackdown 3, Quantum Break, and the Dragon's Scalebound. For life of me, could not think of that.
Scalebound. You've got Mirror's Edge stuff floating around there as well. And
I think we'll hear about Mirror's Edge today at EA.
Oh yes, was EA. Yeah. So it shows confidence, and that's great.
Definitely.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think they had an hour and a half show. I think they showed enough. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm looking forward to Gamescom, seeing what they can do, because they're really pulling it back this year. I think it's tight. It's very tight, their lineup. Do you know what I mean? Very tight.
Yeah, well, I will weigh in. So, yeah, for me, I think they had a very well-paced show. I mean, there really were not any real dull lag moments where you sat there and got, oh, God, this. So they brought the games. They brought them at a great pace, and it was one after the other, kind of following up on what they did last year. Really, about the only lull moment was, quite honestly, the VR, Oculus, and HoloLens stuff for me, and that's just because that's an area that I'm not as excited about from a gaming perspective. But they brought the business.
Nice eye candy, but I don't think it's very practical. I mean, I know the HoloLens looks lovely and everything, but it'll be nice to look at a Minecraft map and direct things around. But what will you actually do after you look at it? Will it do anything? Is it a good enough way to manipulate games over a controller and stuff like that there, or with a controller?
Robin, is it a good enough gateway to manipulate parents to buying this for their kids? That's the truth. That's the true thing.
God, jeez, you know what? If it does 80% or 70% of what they're showing today, I'll buy that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll probably end up buying 3 of them or 4 of them.
But yeah,
that's the problem.
I think they knocked it out of the park for what they needed to do. The backwards compatibility stuff was huge. I cannot say enough how that. We all were on a call together, and it was just kind of like, holy crap, they're actually doing it. And
that was a bomb.
That was a big bombshell. And it is a definite snub towards PS Now. We've got your backwards compatibility, and it's not going to cost you anything.
Murphy's shot's right there.
There you go. Yes. All right. Well, that wraps it up for Microsoft and Bethesda. Hopefully you enjoyed our coverage of it. We'll be doing the same thing tomorrow. It'll be a little bit later start time. So for our friends in the UK, we apologize. It will be a late night. But we'll be doing Sony. We'll be doing EA. We'll be doing Ubisoft. And like I said, possibly Nintendo.
Whatever they do.
Yeah, whatever they do. But thank you again for watching. If you want to follow us, live.g4te.com is the Twitch channel. Just type that into your browser. It'll take you right to our Twitch channel, and you can watch the video side of the show. And, of course, follow us, OC_podcast on Twitter. You can always email the show, podcast@g4te.com. And most importantly, Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Toodles.